Yes, sir.
Hello, sir. I am Dr. Subramaniam.
Hello, Dr. Subramaniam. Welcome, sir.
Welcome.
We are just waiting for another 2 minutes just a minute only to start, allowing others to join.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Madam Purnima, ma'am. Good
I am
morning.
Purnima Suman from Noble School of Business, JP Nagar.
Oh, lovely, ma'am. Thank you and welcome.
Yeah, we are
We'll
happy
just,
to listen from you, sir.
oh, yes. Thank you, ma'am. Welcome. A minute, we will join, ma'am. Okay, we'll start.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kulkarni sir,
Yes, sir.
hope you are ready. And Professor Satya, are you ready?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, let us start it. It's already 10 o'clock.
Yes,
And
sir.
we will allow the delegates to join one by one. No problem. We will start the program. And let us follow the time management schedule also. Okay. Hope
Yes, sir.
both of you are ready.
Yes, sir.
Since this is time bound also, we should stick to time,
yes.
sir.
All right. So, very good morning to everybody.
Good morning.
This is Venkatraman, Dean of the Presidency B School. It's my pleasure and privilege to welcome all of you for this MDP webinar on latest developments in Indian derivatives market. Let me first invoke the blessings of Lord Ganesha, who is considered to be an angulator of all obstacles. And on behalf of Presidency College and on behalf of the entire delegates who are present here, I pray to Almighty that all of us have to overcome the situation and we should come out of the situation very soon. And all of us should resume back to our college, wherein we are facing a lot of obstacles in terms of this online aspect is concerned. And the good point to note over here is what when we organize the MDP, generally the thing is what the principals, the heads of the departments, they all will be very, very busy in terms of their administration work and in terms of controlling their students in the campus. Now, I'm just delighted to see that there are principals from various institutes, heads of the departments from various institutes, apart from the faculty delegates and the corporate delegates who have enrolled or registered for this program. I'm really very delighted. This technology provides us a platform wherein we are able to connect with each other and we are able to gain knowledge also over this platform. So coming to this derivatives market, all of us are aware that the derivatives are the risk management tool that helps in effective management of risk by various stakeholders, no doubt in that. Basically, the thing is what the derivatives provide an opportunity to one party who wishes to accept the risk and conveniently or not as a convenient matter of tool, we will be able to transfer the risk to the other party who is willing to accept the risk. And in fact, when it comes to derivatives market, it has surpassed in NSE right over to the equity turnover is concerned. And a lot of developments have happened in the derivatives market. In fact, me, the convener and the speaker, when we were contemplating about the various topics, we zero down to this Indian derivatives market because it will help us not only to acquire the practical knowledge, plus whether it comes to VTU or the Bangalore University, we have this subject called as risk management derivatives, so that we'll be able to brainstorm at the end of the session over to that speaker in terms of question answer session will be handled. And with this few words, once again, I just welcome all of you for this MDP webinar. Good wishes to all of you. So let the divine grace protect all of us. And I'll hand it over to Professor Kulkarni for the introduction of the speaker.
Thank you, sir. We have a lot of guests, Venkat sir, from the corporate also. delegates from corporates. Okay, so on behalf of you, I welcome all of them. Today, yes, I'm Professor Kulkarni. I'm the MDP and FDP coordinator here with the Center for Management Studies at Presidency College. It will be my privilege and my honor to tell you about the speaker, our dear friend and colleague, Professor Satyanarayana. He holds a master degree in the business management from the VTO University, and he has 12 years of industry experience with the particularly with the financial services, and about 8 years he has been teaching also now. He has had the stints with other colleges, and now he is with us. Um, he's taught MBA and PGDM students. He has extensively worked with a few companies during his corporate stint, JM Financial, Georgette, and India Bulls in various managerial positions. He specialized in the areas like investment strategies and management, risk management, and financial planning. He is a freelance stock market trainer. He has held a lot of sessions for that for various groups and also the students. Presently, he's with us, and we are privileged to be him having as our colleagues. He is fondly known within our faculty team as a chief techie, or what we call, somebody calls him as the data sir. So he's a very team man with us. Anywhere we find some problem, we bank on him in terms of technology. So I welcome Professor Satyanarayana, and I have two small requests for all the participants. Kindly mute your mobiles if they are next to you, so that it doesn't get into your microphones and get into ears of all other participants. The second request is through the session, yes, we will be forwarding you feedback form on Google Forms. Okay, so kindly fill it up and submit the feedback on completion of the webinar. So thank you very much and welcome you all once again. And over to Professor Satyam to start his session. Satya, please.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Kulkarni sir and Venkat sir. Okay, let me start the session. Before the session, what I'm planning is like, okay, I'll mute all during the session so that there won't be any disturbance. Otherwise, like there'll be a lot of disturbance in between, so that we can have question and answer session in the end. So if you have any questions, you can note down the questions after my completion of the presentation. I will take a few questions. If time permits, I'll try to take all the questions. Otherwise, I'll take whatever the questions will come first. So I think that should be okay with everybody. Okay. Good morning to all once again. This session already Venkat sir has briefly explained why this session, why we are listed or decided to talk on these latest developments in derivatives. As sir said, like there are two things to consider. One is a lot of changes happened in derivatives, like especially when it comes to academicians. Like we are going through the textbooks, whatever there in the textbook, we still think that okay, still same thing is there, but practically it may not be true. I'm not telling that okay, nobody's following this, but what I mean to say is okay, let us try to understand what is happening. So that we can same thing can be delivered to the students. Second thing, like nothing wrong in understanding like latest changes in especially in the Indian derivative market. That is the intention of deciding on this topic. This is the agenda of this session will be like this. Initially, maybe few minutes I'll be spending on derivatives. I know like everybody is aware about derivatives. Then it comes to Indian derivative market, what exactly is happening in the Indian derivative market and when it started. Maybe under 2-3 minutes on this. Post that the main important session. that is the latest developments in Indian markets. I have some listed on some 9 to 10 points. I'll try to explain, or I'll try to give whatever I have the details. Then comes to maybe last 5 minutes, what to focus when it comes to academics, how you can make them, how we can make our students to be ready to the market. That's what I'm going to focus on this. After that, we'll be having question and answer session. That is how the program is planned. Okay, let me start with derivative. We all know derivative is a contract whose value is derived from its underlying asset. Nothing else, like derivative itself doesn't have any value. Whatever the value you're going to see, whatever it may be futures, options, whatever it is, whatever the value you're going to see, everything is from its underlying asset. So it can be your index, or it can be your stock, it can be commodity, currency, or interest rate. So practically speaking, like in India or across the world, there are two major derivative contracts or products which are traded. One is your futures, other one is options. It is also called as exchange traded derivatives. So we have other contracts like we have swaps, we have forwards. So all those swaps and forwards will not be traded through exchange. So whatever the products which are traded through exchange are, like we have one is future, other one is options. So this is a brief introduction about derivative. So since it's a latest development, I'm not going to talk too much on the basics of derivative. Then when it comes to Indian derivative market, in India, we started derivative trading in June 2012. Initially, it started with Nifty. NSE is the first exchange to start this derivative trading. That is what is future index they started. Later on, one by one, they started introducing. So after 1 year, they introduced option stocks, then came option futures. Later on, all these other stocks have been started. So that is the origin of derivatives in India. Then the products which are traded in India, index is the one product which is traded in Indian market. Then we have stocks, we have commodities, we have currency, and also interest rates. These are the different products which are traded in Indian market. When it comes to securities available, we have few securities available. The main important securities, I'm going to talk more on financial derivatives than commodity derivatives. So when it comes to your financial derivatives, we have mainly two exchanges where it is traded. One is NSE, other one is BSE. And all of us know like NSE is dominating in terms of volume, in terms of number of trades, in terms of number of clients. So NSE has 3 index which are traded in derivative. Then we have 144 stocks which are common for both because that will be decided by SEBI. We all know that one. And NSE has something called long-term index options. So what is this long-term index options? Is like we all know like maximum at any point of time we'll be having 3 contracts which are traded in derivative. If you take an example now, we have May, June, July. These are the 3 months. But NSE has one long-term index option where you can trade for next 5 years. So that means we are in 2020, 2024 option if you want to buy, that is available. So that is there only in NSE and that is applicable only for Nifty. As of now, NSE started this only with Nifty. It's not a new one. It's there from maybe from last 3-4 years it is there. So that is what is about NSE, and BSE has 4 index which are traded in index derivatives. Then it comes to your stocks. Again, it is same 144 stocks which are available in BSE also. Then when it comes to currency trading, we have 4 pairs which are linked to INR, that is Indian rupee. You have a pair of USD INR. We have a pair of USD Euro INR. We have a pair of Pound and INR and Yen and INR. These are what these are the contracts which are generally traded from the beginning. These 4 contracts are there. So apart from this, recently they have started something called cross currency. What is cross currency in India? Like physically on the spot market, if you want to do this cross currency, that is not legally permitted. You cannot go and sell your euro and buy US dollar. That is what is considered as cross currency in the spot market. Legally, it is not accepted. That is not allowed. But in the exchange, that is they are allowing you to trade in cross currency. Like you can trade euro versus USD, GBP versus USD, USD versus yen. These are the 3 cross currencies which are allowed to trade in Indian currency market. So all these things are allowed to trade in both whatever the exchange. Like right now in India, we have NSE, BSE, MCX, and NCDX. So most of the trades are happening in terms of currency in NSE and MCX. So this is what about securities available in Indian market. Next comes is what is the volume. So when it comes to volume, we can't imagine the volumes what have grown in recent years. So I'm there. I'm looking at this derivative market from 2000. I passed out in 2010. After that, I directly joined into broking house. So from day one, I'm able to see this how this derivative market is working. If you look at the volumes, from 2000 2001, you see the right side is your 2001. Left, what you see in the beginning is 2020 21. So 2020 21, I taken the volume till 27th of February. So if you look at the volume of 2019-20, it's a big jump in terms of volume. Also, the reason is like market has supported. You would have seen like what is the return we got in terms of index. And let's not talk about individual stock. Like if you talk about index, like it has given a better return. So 2019-20 is a market where the investors who have invested in index futures or index derivatives or ETFs which are linked to index have gained very good return. So that is also one of the reason which has contributed in terms of number of trades. This is in terms of number of trades, like these are the crores, like 500 crore contracts are traded in derivative in 2019-20, unimaginable. You won't believe like it was hardly any trades were happening in 2000. In 2000, if you look at, hardly any trades were happening. So I could see that, okay, in a week or in 10 days or 15 days, we used to see 2 or 3 trades. Whereas in 1 minute now you can see around 100, 200 trades. So that is how it is, it has developed. So the volumes have grown drastically in Indian stock market. This is combining both NSE as well as BSE. The numbers what I'm showing is from NSE and BSE both together. So when it comes to volume, let us see in terms of turnover, what might be the turnover, like in terms of value. Again, in 2019-20, you can see there's a big jump compared to all other year. But overall, if you look at from the beginning, there's a consistency. Consistently, it's growing. The growth of volumes is one of the things which will support any market. See, even though market gives a good return, we all know, like if you know about technical analysis, it comes with we talk about volume analysis we do. So without volume, even the market is moving, nobody will be having any confidence in investing. But if you look at Indian market, the volumes have grown very much. So even here you can see like other figures, like if you look at here, 35 lakh crores, 35 lakh crores of the volume. Sorry, 350 crores of volume has been done in 1920. This is what is the volume chart. So drastically the volumes also grown. Like I don't know, like how many of us know like what is the volume, total volume in India across per day, or what is volume happening in India? Like it is unimaginable. And also we need to understand this. Okay, all this is happening with a small portion, a small contribution from investors. Contribution in the sense like we have 130 crores of population. Hardly 2.5 to 3% of the populations are trading in stock market. Imagine if 5% of the population start trading in stock market, what will be the position of Indian stock market? So we can beat entire world. That is how it is. So this is what is brief about Indian derivative market. So let's move on to the next one, that is latest development. So this will take some time, maybe around 40-45 minutes I'll spend on this. So initially, let me start with the exchange volumes. I told you, like you can see 1920 the volumes what you have seen. In fact, because of that, it says as per the Bloomberg study, we are the world's largest derivative exchange by volume. NSE has done this. NSE has beaten CME, that is Chicago Mercantile Exchange, in terms of volume in 2019-20. This is announced in the month of January by Bloomberg. NSE has done a trades of 6 billion contracts. 6 billion contracts have been traded in NSE exchange. Next best across the world was Chicago Mercantile Exchange, where the contracts traded were 4.3 billion contracts. So there's a big gap, and that is what is the familiarity with Indian index or Indian market, derivative market. Then when it comes to volume, we all know like, okay, the volumes have grown. And if you look at this figure, even though we are there in the market, when it comes to spot market, BSE started in 1975. So it's almost 45 years old. In the spot market is 45 years old, and our derivative market is hardly some 20 years old. So with 20 years, you can see that 90% of the volumes in India, what are the number of trades you could see, or in terms of value of the trades, that is happening through derivative segment. So this is one of the main reasons why Indian market is attracting so many investors. Then comes to your merger of FMC and SEBI. Why this I have taken into consideration here is, even though you could see that, okay, this has happened in the year 2015. our ex-finance minister Arun Jaitley has announced this merger of FMC with SEBI. FMC is like Forward Market Commission, where it was regulating commodity market. SEBI is the one who will be regulating the stock market. In 2015, they felt like, okay, why we need to have two different regulatories to manage a market. So that is the reason why they merged in 2015 FMC with SEBI. So we had two regulatories. Now we have only one regulatory, that is SEBI. SEBI is going to is managing or monitoring entire transactions or all the activities in terms of stock market as well as commodity market. So what is the impact of this merger is the question. So even though it's old, 4 to 5 years old, why I taken this into discussion is like there's a lot of impact on these from last 1.5 to 2 years. So especially when it comes to impact in the exchange. Now earlier we had 3 commodity exchange and 2 stock exchanges. We have a lot of other small stock exchanges, but when it comes to major stock exchanges, we have NSE and BSE that everybody knows. So when it comes to commodity exchange, we had 3 stock exchange commodity exchanges. Initially, like NSE is the one which started commodity market in India 2002-3, but of late, like they were not able to pick up in terms of volume. But later on, NSE has developed NCDX and BSE has developed MCX. Now, if you talk about commodity market in India, it's all about NCDX and MCX. These are the 2 commodity exchanges. Now we had 3 commodity exchanges, 2 stock exchanges. So when they merged this one, not necessary that we need to have 2 different stream of exchanges, commodity as well as equity. That is not required. So that is the reason. Once it is merged, now all the trades, whatever you are doing in commodity market, all the commodities, what are the products which are there in commodities, same thing is introduced in NSE as well as BSE. That means NSE and BSE both are allowed to trade both are allowed to trade in commodity market as well as, like if you look at MCX is famous for commodity in terms, especially in terms of your metal and bullion market, whereas NCDX is known for the volumes in terms of agri commodities. Now all those agri commodities as well as bullion and metals are allowed to trade in exchange, NSE and BSE. Slowly, like what I feel is like they're going to close down MCX and NCDX, because when you have one platform, it is easy for them to manage. From exchange point of view, they need not have 2 different people, 2 different set of management, 2 different set of risk management. That is what is the major advantage, so that the cost will go down for exchange. Next, when it comes to intermediaries are the brokers with whom we are going to trade. So we are going to trade with intermediary. They play a key role when it comes to your trading activity. They give a good platform. So all of us will be going wherever we get a good platform, we'll go to them. Now for them, how it is beneficial is like, okay, everybody used to have 2 different companies to manage this. Like one will be having, for example, you take ABC Limited, ABC Securities Limited. They were allowed to trade only in facilitate trading in equity market. Now suppose ABC Limited want to start commodity market, they were supposed to have one more company and start. So that is the reason all the broking houses, what they've done earlier was like, okay, ABC Comtrade or Commodity Trade, they started one subsidiary in their name. They started commodity trading under that particular name. So they were having 2 companies and managing these 2 businesses. One is commodity, other one is equity. Now, because of this merger, now they need not have 2 different companies and have 2 different set of people to work and 2 different set of management. Now everything is merged, and they also will have one organization which is going to manage both equity, derivative, and as well as commodity. That is an advantage for the intermediary, and also it is easy for them to manage the funds. Next comes to next is we have trading platform. So earlier, like it was difficult to trade in one particular trading platform is a screen or online trading screen, what you're going to use for trading. Earlier, when we had 2 different companies, when we had 2 different regulators, they were not your intermediaries were not allowed to give same platform for both commodity as well as equity market. But now because of the merger, in one single screen, you are allowed to trade equity as well as commodity. So that is an advantage in terms of trade platform, so that intermediary can save some money, and also as a trader, you need not have 2 different login ID passwords and 2 different platforms to trade. So that is an advantage for the traders. So when as a trader, like once you log into one particular system, you can see that, okay, you can trade in equities, spot market, you can trade in derivatives, you can trade in commodity, you can trade in currency, you can trade in interest rate. Very few individual investors will be trading in interest rate derivatives, whereas institutions will be trading in these interest rate derivatives. So now, because of this merger, all the products, all the what are the underlying securities or all the segments are allowed to trade in one particular screen. That is an advantage for the traders. And also, what is the advantage in terms of managing your margin is like earlier, suppose you had given some margin check to your equity market, you are not allowed to trade in commodity market by using that money. So you're supposed to take back that money and give that money to the broker by giving a separate check or transfer funds. That was a tedious process for the traders. Now, because of this merger, what happened? That adjustment can be done. Suppose you have some margin in your commodity account, again is that you can buy in equity market also. That's one combined margin account they can maintain as a broker. That will be an advantage for this, for the traders. So these are the impacts of this merger. Even though it happened in 2015, the impact has started of late in 2017, 18, 19. We have one of the participant here who is there in one of the broking house as a risk manager. I think maybe in the Q&A session, he can add some more points to this. Then uh, mutual funds are allowed for trading in derivatives. Earlier, they were not allowed to trade in derivatives. So any investments you are going to do, if it is an equity investment, they were allowed to do only in the spot market. They were allowed to buy in the cash delivery. Now they are allowed to trade in derivatives for hedging purpose because of volatility. Now, even though we have a product, they were not allowed to use this derivative product. Since SEBI has permitted derivatives, mutual funds to use these derivatives, now it is easy for them to manage. Like suppose whenever a fund manager is feeling like, okay, you want to hedge this position against any market fall or whatever it is, like whatever the way they want to hedge, hedging is not necessary only when there's a market fall. Even other way also you can make use of it. So that is the reason like mutual funds are allowed to trade in derivatives. Then comes to your contract value. We all know like from 2000, the contract value was 2 lakh rupees. That means if you want to buy a trading, if you want to buy a contract in derivative, especially in financial derivative, it was 2 lakh rupees. Now that has been changed to 5 lakh rupees. Okay, the reasons for changing is like SEBI thought of, okay, let us protect small investors. So earlier what was happening was like, since it was a 2 lakh rupees contract value was 2 lakh rupees. So let's assume like Nifty generally will be having a margin of 11% or 12%. Even other stocks, if let's assume the contract value is 2 lakh and the margin is 20%. If you have 40,000 rupees, you are allowed to trade in one contract of futures. Now, if there is any fall of 10%, let's assume the stock price has fallen by 10%. And if the stock price is trading at 200 rupees, 20 rupees straight away fall, then you're going to lose your 10% of your margin. So because of this, what SEBI has done is, okay, let us protect the small investors by increasing the contract value. What they've done is they have increased the contract value to 5 lakh rupees. If you look at any contract, that will be having minimum 5 lakhs, and whenever your team meets and revise the contract, you can see that there will be change in the lot size. Based on the market price of the particular stock, they're going to change the lot size. If the market price has fallen, they're going to increase the lot size. So let's assume now today they have started, new stock is added to the derivative market. What they'll look at is they'll check the market price and the contract value. Contract value is 5 lakh rupees. Now, if market price is 500 rupees, then 5 lakh rupees divided by 500 rupees, that will be your lot size. So that will come to 1000 shares. So 1000 shares will become your lot size. Suppose over a period of time, this 500 rupees has become 1000 rupees. Now what happens? Your contract value will be 10 lakh rupees. So in that case, what they'll do is they'll reduce the lot size to 500 shares. So that is how the contract value is decided. And now whatever the financial derivatives, especially in index and stock, that will be with a value of 5 lakh rupees, minimum 5 lakh rupees. But when it comes to currency, they have a different criteria to do this. One is we have all those currencies except N, it is traded with a 1000 currency value, 1000 units. For example, like if you want to trade in dollars, INR and dollar, it will be USD INR, it will be $1,000 you are going to buy and sell. If it is pound, 1000 pound. If it is then we have euro, that is also 1000 euros. That is how the contract value will is decided. Then the recent changes is like weekly expiry. So we all know that, okay, from the beginning it is there like last Thursday the expiry day for the derivative contract. So eagerly we'll be waiting for last Thursday so that there'll be volumes in terms of volume, and there will be a lot of opportunities for the traders who will be going short because margin will be less and all this, especially in terms of options. So all these trades are there now. It was easy. I can say that, okay, for a small investors, it was easy to say that, okay, let me buy this position. I have the time till last Thursday. But recently, what exchange has done is like, okay, they started this weekly expiry. That too, they have started with only index. Right? As of now, stocks do not have this weekly expiry. We have only index which are there in weekly expiry. So every Thursday is an expiry. Not necessarily that you need to wait till last Thursday of the month for your expiry. Every Thursday will be an expiry. Suppose if you buy today, if you want to buy today, you have an option to decide whether you want to go for current week expiry, or you want to go for next week expiry, or you want to go for month end expiry. Like there'll be 4 contracts will be available, 3 weeks plus 1 monthly contract will be available. So now if you're a short-term trader, you can make use of this and you can trade. And if you want to buy an option, you can buy an option. Suppose let's assume that okay, Nifty is there somewhere around 9,500. You're predicting by this Thursday it might go up to 9,800. No need, and especially when you go for long-term contract like monthly contract, the premium will be high because still we have under 1 month time for expiry. Since we have a weekly contract, the premium also will be low compared to your 1 month expiry or monthly expiry contracts. You can trade in these contracts of weekly expiry with small investments. So suppose 9,500 is a index value now, and 9,600 call option. If you want to buy your weekly expiry, this current week expiry might be there trading somewhere around 60 rupees or 70 rupees. Whereas if you go for monthly expiry, that is May month expiry, that might be trading somewhere around 150 rupees or 140 rupees. So this is because of the volatility. We all know like the prices of the options will change based on the volatility. If volatility increases, obviously your option prices are also expected to increase. So this is now this is an advantage for the traders as well as the volumes are picked up. The main reason, if you ask me, the why the volumes are picked up drastically in terms of your 1920 year. One of the reason is your weekly expiry. Even though it is traded in equity only in the index, index will contribute major portion of your volumes in terms of exchange. Even you can take NSE or BSE. Even though we have 144 stocks, when it is compared to index, many investors will be trading in terms of index rather than stocks or any other underlying asset. So this is what is all about weekly expiry of derivatives. Then we have something called physical settlement of contract. This is the latest one in the derivative market. So, and this is applicable only in case of monthly contracts. As of now, for weekly contracts, it is not applicable. Anyway, there's no meaning in say that okay, weekly contract you can take delivery, because weekly contracts now, as of now, it is allowed only for index. For stocks, right now we don't have any weekly contract. So when it comes to physical settlement, now what is this physical settlement is the question. So we know about physical trading. Physical trading is all about like exchanging your share certificates. No, I'm not talking about that particular exchange of share certificates. Here, when it comes to stock market, as of now, once we got into your digital mode, that is demat mode, it's physical settlement means you're going to exchange your underlying asset. So we all know, like in case of your derivatives, still now whatever we know is only about cash settlement. Now, suppose when the market, if you buy a 500 rupees call option by paying 10 rupees, on expiry, if the stock price is 550 rupees, you're going to receive 50 rupees payback, cash back. Cash you're going to receive from exchange, and your net profit will be 40 rupees. So that is what we know. That is nothing but your cash settlement. In case of futures, if you buy a futures today by at the rate of 500 rupees on expiry, if futures are trading at 525, you're going to get a 25 rupees profit. Or if you go short, if it comes down, you're going to make profit. If it goes, you're going to incur a loss. That much of loss will get adjusted in your margin. That is what we know. That is nothing but your cash settlement. Now, physical settlement is like, okay, suppose you buy a call option and you exercise that call option. Suppose you have an option called exercise. When it comes to exercise, there are two things. One is American and European. As of now, what are the contracts which are traded in India? All are European options. So earlier we had a stock options which were trading with American style. Now even that has been shifted to your European options. Now that means only on the expiry day you can exercise the contract, not in between. Now you are holding a call option of Reliance which is trading at 600 rupees. You are holding a call option with a strike price of 600 rupees. On expiry, if the market price of our underlying asset of that particular contract, that is Reliance, is trading somewhere around 700 rupees. If you want to exercise, you are allowed to exercise. When you exercise, if the lot size is 1,000 shares, the person who is assigner is a person who has sold you the contract. Suppose they see, we know that okay, stock market is a zero sum game. If I'm going to buy, somebody would have sold, right? So the person who has sold this option contract, we'll call him as assigner. So exchange will assign to him, he has to give delivery of that particular shares. So that means we all know like call option is an option where buyer of the option will be having a right to uh, buy the underlying asset. So as a person who is holding the call option, I have all the rights to buy that underlying asset. So since the strike price is 500 rupees, I'm going to buy these shares at 500 rupees irrespective of the market price. The person who has sold this option has to transfer 1,000 shares at 500 rupees to me. He'll get only 500 rupees, but he has to transfer shares to me. Now you might ask a question, what if he doesn't transfer the shares? Now for that, anyway, exchange is there. They have the rules. They have framed clear rules and policies. They have according to policy. They'll collect the shares. They'll go for auction market. They'll buy the shares and give it to you. The way it happens in the spot market, it can happen in the spot market also, or in the equity market, where a person, a investor can sell a share. If it doesn't have a delivery, if he's not able to cover it back on the same day, that will go for auction. So exchange will conduct an auction for those shares. They'll buy in the auction market and give it to the buyer. Same thing will be applicable in case of derivatives also. So if a seller of a call option, if he's not able to deliver the shares, they'll go for auction market. They'll buy in the auction market and give it to the buyer of a call option. So same thing. Suppose you are holding a put option. If you want to exercise put option, you can exercise. So generally, like we all know, when these options will get exercised. So these options will get exercised only. Put options will get exercised only when your current market price is less than your strike price. So if same thing, like if you're holding a 500 rupees Reliance put option, if the market price is somewhere around 450 rupees. So what happens generally, you're going to, that means that you have a right to sell your shares at 500 rupees. Obviously, you're going to exercise your contract. So when you exercise your contract, you're going to receive 500 rupees. So buyer of your, seller of the put option doesn't have anything to say, because he has sold his put option to you. That means he has only obligation to fulfill your rights. So whenever you want to sell, he has to buy. So he has to buy at 500 rupees, even though market price is 450 rupees. So that is how it works. Now, what you do is, okay, if you're holding a put option, if you exercise the contract, you can go and deliver the shares at 500 rupees. Physically, you can go and deliver. But earlier, that was not the case. Like you are, irrespective of the shares, whenever you contract, traded, and all those things, it was only cash settlement. Now, once this physical settlement started, you can exchange your shares even in the derivative market also. The settlement cycle will remain same. That is T+1. Then how many stocks are physically settled? As of now, if you ask me today, all the stocks, 144 stocks which are traded, are physically settled. That is, they are allowed to settle. Now, from when they started, like they started by installment, I can say that, okay, different installment. Initially, they started this with 50 stocks that are going to expire in April 2009. How these 50 stocks were selected was, they checked out in terms of volume, whichever the stocks which were there with the lowest volume, they started. Like if you sort it out in terms of volume, they took bottom 50, then started with this delivery. So they started with this. Then the next installment, next 50 stocks, they started with a July expiry, 2019 again. The rest, whatever the stocks were there, around 44 stocks, they started with October expiry. So this is how they started with 3 different stretches. They started this physical settlement of all the stocks which are there in Indian derivative market. But anyway, there's no question of physical settlement in terms of index. You cannot take any delivery of your index. That is not allowed. Then comes to your which are the contracts which will be settled physically is the question. Now, all open future positions which are left open after the closing session on expiry day. See, till expiry day, doesn't matter whether you buy, sell, whatever it is, they are not going to consider, as long as you have enough margin with them and you're going to make payment of your mark to market. So once you come to expiry, they'll check like which are the contracts which are open. That means till expiry, suppose last Thursday, till 3:30 you have a time to square off your position. Square off is like if you're buying, you need to sell it off. If you're long, you need to square it back by selling the position. If you're short, you need to buy back so that your position will become zero. So on expiry, they'll check after 3:30. There is something called post closing that is not available for derivatives. That is only for equity market. So 3:30 after that, they'll check like which are the contracts which are open, that will be considered as physically settled. That means, okay, it's not like earlier, you buy future contract and you forget, okay, anyway, exchange will square up and difference you're going to get it. That's not like that now. If you buy a future contract before expiry, if you don't square off your position, it is assumed that exchange will think that, okay, you want to take a delivery and you are going to get delivery of shares. For that, you have to make payment. and T plus 1. That is how it works. Suppose you sold some Infosys futures and you forgot. So exchange will ask you for delivery after expiry. On the expiry day, because you are short in futures, it is assumed that you want to sell futures and you have not squared off. If you square off, it is okay, because once you square off your position, plus 1 minus 1, it will become 0. As long as your position is 0, doesn't matter. They're not worried about that one. Only where the positions are kept open, whether it is long or short, they need to go. They'll ask you to go for delivery base. They'll ask you to go for physical settlement. Suppose you're a buyer, you have to take delivery by making the payment. If you're a seller, you have to transfer the shares and collect the money. That is how it works. Now, when it comes to options, only in the money options. We all know, like, okay, when it comes to options, only in the money options will be asked, will be allowed for exercise. Okay, all in the money options, it can be call option or put option. Which are these in the money options? Suppose if the current market price on expiry day, like closing price of your stock on expiry day is 1,000 rupees. In case of call option, any strike price which is less than 1,000 rupees will be considered as in the money option. So all those options which are there close to in the money option will get exercise. Suppose if you exercise, you are going to get your contract. Suppose if you don't exercise, it is considered as you're going to take delivery. That is compulsorily they're going to close it out. Suppose you are holding a put option, then any strike price which is above the market price. Suppose if the market price is 1,000 rupees on expiry day, and if the stock any strike price, okay, you have 1,100 rupees, 1,200 rupees strike price. All those strike prices will be considered as in the money option for your put options. So all those options will be considered for physical delivery. Now there is an option, something called close to the money. Do not exercise option. Now, if you're holding an option, it can be call option or put option. It is if it is in the money option, and if it is close to the market price. So suppose current market price is 1,000 rupees, you're holding 980 call option, that will be considered as close to call option. Or if you're holding 1,020 put option, that will be considered as close to market price. So those options, as an option buyer, you have a right to inform exchange. Okay, there is a specific time which will be given. Within that time, on the expiry day, you have to inform exchange, do not exercise an option. So if it is close to money option, you can say that, okay, do not exercise option. That option is there. Those contract will be settled in cash. Otherwise, all other contracts will be physically settled. This is what is all about physical settlement. This data I taken from SEBI. If somebody wants SEBI circular, it is available. You can ask me, I'll give you. So then comes to algo trades. You ask me, this is the life of a trader who is trading in the market for, suppose if his business itself is trading in the market, then this is what is all about algo trades. So at present, you can see that, okay, around 40 to 45% of the volumes which are happening in India are happening through algorithmic trade. So if you are new to the market, or if you're not heard about algorithmic trade, it's all about like, it's a trading by doing a programming. What is programming is like, okay, you can predefine, okay, you are allowed to write a program where you can say that, okay, as of now, market is somewhere around 9,500. The moment it comes down by 5%, 2%, 3%, buy so-and-so contract or sell so-and-so contract. That is what is algorithmic trade. Not necessarily it should be only in terms of price. Okay, there are advanced algorithmic trade which is happening across the world. Is like you can link this to your technical analysis. In the technical analysis, let's assume you are going to look out for simple moving average. There are different days you can look out, like it depends on the analyst. So that is the reason in the technical analysis we say that it's 90% psychological and only 10% logical. Why 10% logical? We're not going to look at anything which is happening in the economy or what is happening in the economy. We all look out only for volume and price of your stocks. Only that is 10%. But all other things will get discounted by your volume and price. Doesn't mean that it will not consider. Everything will get adjusted in terms of volume and price. So when it comes to your algorithmic trade using your technical analysis is like, let's assume that you are a medium term trader. You decide that, okay, the moment your index SMA, that is 30 days simple moving average crosses 100 days simple moving average, you want to initiate a long trade. You can write a program for that. The moment your index crosses 30 days simple moving average crosses 100 days simple moving average, buy 100 units or 400 units, 500 units of so and so stock or index. So if you design it, not necessarily that always you should look out. So these algorithmic trade will be used mostly by speculators. They trade, you won't believe they trade for 1%, 2% profit. Even intraday trades will happen for 0.5% or 0.75% profit. So that is the reason once these algorithmic trades have started, the volumes have gained too much in the market. So almost all the institutions are using it now, but when it comes to retail investors, very few retail investors are using, individual investors. I can say that of individual investors. It's not that, okay, individual investors are not doing, but yes, there are some individual investors or retail investors who are using these algo trades, basic algo trades. I cannot say that, okay, they're using advanced. There are few HNI clients, they're using this advanced algo trade, because even for that software, you're supposed to make payment. That is a little bit costly compared to normal trading or whatever the basic algorithmic trades what you see. So that is what is the trend as of now in the market. So presently you can say that, okay, 42% of the trades are happening. I don't be surprised by next 2 years if it reaches around 60 to 65%. I won't be surprised. So that is how it works. So technology is advanced. So everything is used in the wherever you go, we are going, we're using the technology. That is what is about algorithmic trades. So this news is announced in the live mint in last week. Okay, then cross currency trading is one of the latest concepts which is started in India. I told you about cross currency. Like we have at present 3 pairs are allowed to trade. One is USD, Euro, then USD, Yen, and Euro, not Yen, GBP is there. Okay. Then we have currency options. So initially they started with currency futures. Recently they started these currency options. So it is similar to the way we trade in your stock options or index options. That is also one of the things which is started in India, and the volumes are picking up. That is what is in motivating factor for the traders in options, especially the currency options. If you ask me, if you're new to market, if you want to experiment or if you want to learn market, we all know, like, okay, unless you get into market, you're not going to learn. It is similar to the way you learn swimming or you learn driving. See, unless you get into the water, whatever the theory you know, you're not going to learn. Similarly, here also, unless you invest money in the market, you're not going to learn anything. So if you ask me, since we have financial derivatives with a 5 lakh rupees contract, anybody want to learn about options and futures can start trading with the currency options, because the lot size is hardly now, currency value is somewhere around 75 rupees, 1000. So 1000 is the lot size, 75,000 is the contract value. So if it goes up by, and also lot size is 1000 units. So if it goes up by 1 rupee, we know that, okay, from 75, if it goes to 74, how long it will take? Or if it has to go to 76, it will take, not like your stocks within 2-3 minutes it will move, it will take number of days. So the risk is less. The reason why I'm telling is, like, the risk is less when it comes to your currency options. So if anybody is new to market or you want to learn options, this is the right product to start with, learn option trading. So every 25 paise you'll get a strike price. Suppose 75 is there, then 75.25, 75.5, 75, 75.75, 75.76. That is a lot different strike prices which are available, and the tick size is 0.0025. So 0025 is like 0.1 is 10 paise. You can imagine, like 0.0025 the tick size. So even if it goes up 1 rupee, you're going to lose hardly 1000 rupees. So as a beginner or as a learner, I don't think like you don't mind losing 10 rupees. Unless you lose, you're not going to learn about the market. Okay, then recently they started with commodity options also, but when it comes to commodity options, the volumes are very thin. There is no, we are not seen any big volume change in terms of commodity, but whereas in the future sets, there are good volumes in certain metal commodities, even agri commodities also, so certain commodities have good volume. Bullion, though, everybody knows, like a few days back in a newspaper it has come that gold is expected to go to 81,000 rupees. God only knows who is going to buy at 81,000 rupees. Okay, there are some people who will buy. Okay, now since there is an option available, you can go for gold futures and buy, so that 2021 is not too far away. Hardly it's around 6 to 7 months or 8 months. 2020. Even if you look at, if you take 1 year, if you are able to get around 60 to 70% profit, who would want to take this profit? So if contracts, if options are available, you can go for options. If you want to take minimum risk, you can go for options, or you can buy futures and trade. But commodity options, yes, it is introduced, but the volumes are not good as of now in India. This is one of the things which is started recently, that is quantity freeze limit for indices. What is this quantity freeze is? Okay, we all know about market circuits. Market circuits is different from this. Don't get confused with the quantity freeze and market circuits. Market circuit is like whenever the market moves more than 10% or 15%, it will get halted for certain period. That is what is market circuits. Here, quantity freeze is like, suppose you want to buy 50,000 units of Nifty futures, you cannot place one order. There is some limit in terms of quantity per order. Doesn't mean that you cannot buy 50,000 units of Nifty. Yes, you can buy, but you have to place in multiple orders. So suppose let's, okay, this limit is fixed based on the value of that particular underlying asset. If the value, so there are, that is, suppose let's assume they decide, okay, if the value is somewhere around 10,000, you're allowed to place order for 20,000 units. So if you want to buy 50,000 units of index futures of Nifty, you have to place three orders, one with 20,000, second one with 20,000, third one also with 10,000. So that is how you can split your order and place. Unless otherwise what happens now, especially again, this is linked to your algo trades. In algo trades, what happens, like they'll program it and leave it. Not necessary that one person will program for only one particular buy or sell, but there'll be multiple orders will be placed through algo trades. Now what happens, instead of placing 1,000 shares, by mistake if they mentioned 10,000 shares, or instead of 10,000 units they mention 1 lakh units. So it will keep on trading. One is it's a big loss or profit. It's a big loss if it is other way for an investor, and also that will manipulate market. So intention is not that to trade 1 lakh units, and because of this, like we have seen a lot of examples are there, like institutions by mistake, if they press one extra zero, we have a lot of instances where market has fallen by 10%, 15%. Some stocks have fallen 40%, 50% because of this small mistake. So this mistake should not happen. That is the reason what they've done is, especially in derivatives, they've done is quantity freeze limit for indices. They've done index. They have a quantity freeze. If you want to trade, you have to use that particular one. Next one is option Greeks. Okay, theoretically, we all learning this option Greeks, and we all know theoretically what is option Greeks. We have gamma, we have delta, we have theta. All these things are there now. How best we can make use of this is the biggest thing. What is happening in across the world? Like if you go to European market, they started long back, but in Indian market, yes, we are yet to start with when it comes to retail investors or small investors. Whereas institutions, to certain extent, they are making use of this. You won't believe, like in European markets, most of the trades will happen only in derivatives. If at all, if they want to trade in equity market, they go for ETFs. Nobody would like to buy stocks. So 90% of the volumes will happen either in derivatives or equity, ETFs. So when it comes to derivatives, there are a lot of softwares are available. You can use those softwares. Now it's not like earlier where you need to calculate your option Greek. So you readily, there are softwares available. You can go to NSE, VSE, or Money Controller. You can go to any broker's website. The option Greek calculators are available. Key in the data. They might ask you for standard deviation. They might ask you for option price. They might ask you the strike price, underlying price, interest rate, and when is the expiry. All these data, when you key in, it will give you the option Greeks values. So based on these option Greeks values, you can decide whether I can buy this option or I can sell this option. And many trades will started happening using this option Greeks. And you won't believe, like, okay, this will be an indicator for you. What is the what can happen for your stocks or options maybe tomorrow or day after tomorrow. That is what is an indication. Okay, along with the option Greeks, there is something called implied volatility. That's what everybody is talking about. So what is implied volatility is like, okay, implied volatility, we all know, like especially academicians will be teaching students how to calculate your call option price using your B&S model. In the B&S model, we all know, like, standard deviation is given, your strike price is given, underlying asset price is given, interest rate is given, and also how many days are left to expire, it is given. So when it comes to implied volatility, take out your standard deviation. Instead of that, we already know what is the option price. For example, if you look at Nifty 9,500 call option today, it might be trading somewhere close to 300 rupees. Now we know 300 rupees it is trading. We need to understand, or we need to check what is the volatility so that it is trading at 300 rupees. We all know, like, okay, factors which will influence your option price. Theoretically, even practically, same thing is followed. The first factor which will affect your underlying asset is your volatility of your underlying asset. So if volatility is more, generally you could see that, okay, premium of an option will be more. Like, so whatever the options you could see now, same options, for example, like May 9,500 and 9,600 option. Now current market price may be around 9,700. 9,700 call option, if you look at now, for May option expiry, it will be not less than 150, 200 rupees. Same thing if it had looked out in the month of January, it would have been 150 or 140 rupees. The reason is the volatility was less. Now volatility has increased from 12,000, it has come down to 7,500. From 7,000, it has gone up to 9,600. Again, it came back to 8,700. That is what is all about volatility. So your underlying assets volatility plays a key role when it comes to your options. So to understand this option, what is expected, so we can calculate your implied volatility. That will give you some indication how your stocks are expected to move, how your options are expected to move. So along with your option Greeks, there are certain other things to be considered. So all these things theoretically we know, but many people, institutions were using, but retail investors also started using all these things. It can be in the, finding out open interest. Based on the open interest, you can predict your expiry price, or you can predict what is going to happen, what is the trend of your underlying stock. So because why we need to understand underlying stock is very simple. Once you know what is the trend of your underlying stock, it is easy to decide whether to buy a call option, sell a call option, buy a put option, sell a put option. So unless you know what is expected of your underlying stock, it is difficult for anyone to trade in the market. So that plays a key role, right? So that for that purpose, either you can use open interest. By using open interest, a lot of studies have been done to how to predict your expiry price, or how to predict the trend of your stock, underlying stock, using your option open interest. Or you can check out based on the put call parity. Also, you can decide, okay, what is expected. So how many contracts are open, how many contracts have been closed during that particular day. All these parameters will be used to decide to understand what is expected for your underlying asset, whether to go up or it is expected to go down, so that you can decide what to do. Then last one is okay, earlier NSE, BSE had, okay, even now they have different clearing corporations. Earlier, they were not allowed to adjust the funds of a broker between the clearing corporation. So what is this clearing corporation is like, okay, if you're going to trade in NSE, you're going to use trading platform, or NSE will facilitate only for the trading purpose. Even in case of BSE, any exchange, they will facilitate only trading platform. But when it comes to your settlement of trading, suppose you buy some shares today, you are going to receive the shares after 2 days. So those settlement, that is what we call it a settlement. Or if you sell shares, you're going to receive the payment, or you have to wait, transfer shares, whom to transfer. So all these activities, post-trade activities, will be done by clearing corporation of the respective exchange. Now, earlier, every broker used to have a different account, and they were asked to settle separately. For example, let's assume I'm a broker. My net obligation to NSE Clearing Corporation is I had to make payment of 500 crores. Now, at the same time, on the same day, from BSE, I was supposed to receive 250 crores. So what was happening here is, okay, he will receive this 250 crores in the afternoon from BSE, but in the morning, we all know, like, settlement will happen in the, like, pay in and payout. Pay in will be in the morning, pay out will be in the afternoon. That means brokers, whatever the thing, they have to give it, either in case of funds or in case of securities, they have to give it to exchange in the morning. That is what we call it as pay in. Payout is like whatever they get it from exchange. So from BSE, he'll get these funds in the afternoon, whereas for NSE, he has to pay these funds in the morning, 500 crores. Now, after this introduction of this uh, interoperability, now clearing corporation, you can inform broker can inform clearing corporations to adjust the funds. So you can say that, okay, NSE has to give me 250 crores. So you inform NSE, okay, please transfer this 250 crores to, sorry, BSE has to give you 250 crores. You can inform BSE telling that, okay, please transfer this 250 crores to NSE Clearing Corporation, because I have an obligation of 500 crores, so that he has to pay only 250 crores. No, because of this, what happens, like, intermediary will need to have lesser working capital. It's not okay. Otherwise, he need to adjust under 250 crores, 500 crores in the morning, he has to make payment, whereas he is going to receive 250 crores in the afternoon. So that was a burden for the brokers. Now, to take care of this, what they've done is they have introduced this in the market. So this is what is the latest changes. Okay, you, from traders' point of view, it may not be a big thing, but for a intermediary or a broker, this will help a lot. So these are the things what I wanted to discuss in terms of latest trends in derivative market. Then last but not the least is academic focus. So what is that we need to focus when it comes to your academics? So when it comes to academics, like generally we are going to teach from textbooks or whatever the data you have, materials, whatever it is. So yes, concept wise, you can refer any book. All the books will have the same concept, and also you are going to get some examples. Now, if you look at if you take any foreign author and give that, if you recommend any foreign author book to a student, 100% he'll be confused. One reason is like, okay, one is language, or second thing might be they use dollars or pounds or some other currency wherever the author is. The moment you use different currency, there are chances that leads to a lot of confusion for our students. Now, yes, concept wise that is explained in the class. Once you explain the concept in the class, so make them to understand practically how does it work a market, especially when it comes to derivative market. So we should teach them how to get the data from exchange. That is one thing we need to teach them. Okay, every exchange you're going to get data. NSE is easier to get data, and there is some changes in terms of getting data. Now, from April 1st, 2020, NSE has started charging for the data, historical data. For last 6 months, data it is free. If you want data beyond 6 months, then you have to pay. I think for academicians, they are going to charge. They are charging around 18,000 rupees per annum. So some charges are introduced. Anyway, from students' point of view, that is not required. Like you can take live data from an exchange, and you can make use of data and teach them how to use that data to learn practically whatever you're going to learn, whatever the things you learned in the class. Now you can take, like for example, now March, there is a big fall in the month of March in index or what are the stocks. You can see that S Bank has fallen drastically from January. So those examples we can ask them to take and construct some strategies. Suppose let's assume you're in the month of January or you're in the month of February. Now, what is the strategy you would have built? Okay, if you are known that okay, X Bank is expected to fall from 150 rupees to 7 rupees or 8 rupees, or later on it's closed at 16 rupees, then now it may be trading somewhere around 30, 35 rupees, whatever it is. Now, what strategies you would have built? Okay, so now what happens when they learn practically? Now they'll be ready for the market, especially when they want to get into financial services or broking industry. When they know like what data is available, where it is available, how to make use of data, that data, it will help for them. It will help them when they go to exchange, when they go to the broker, when they go to a financial services industry, when they can answer interviews in a better way. Second thing, practically they learn how does it work. So he may not get into financial services industry, but practically learn how does this work. That will help them to answer in the exam in a better way. This is how it goes on. So this is what I wanted to discuss when it comes to your academic focus. So what I'll do is I'll open for Q&A. Meantime, if you have any questions, I'm ready to take. Or if somebody would like to know like how to get data from exchange, I'm ready to share. Like based on your request, if all of you know like how to get data from exchange, I need not waste time on that one. Like if someone want to know like how we get a data from exchange, I'm ready to show you how to get data. I'll unmute you all. Or what you can do is if anybody has a question, now Zoom has an option to raise your hand. You can use that option and you can raise so that I'll unmute only those persons, or I think you can unmute yourself and start asking questions. Over to you.
So this is Nupur Chakravarti from Ramaiah College.
Yes, madam.
I'd like to know the procedure for getting the data, please.
Sure. I'll demonstrate you using NSE because that is more user-friendly compared to other exchanges. I'll show you how to get data. It doesn't matter whether it's from NSE or BSE since it's only for learning.
Sure, sir. Thank you.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Hello, I am Dr. Subramaniam.
Let me answer her, sir. I'll show you that. Then I'll take one. Next one.
Hello.
My name is
Hello.
Yes, sir. Go ahead, sir. Till it takes till that page opens. Hello. Somebody is asking question there, and we're
Hello.
not able to hear.
Hello. Hello.
Sir, please say, sir.
Okay, let me finish this. Like you can go to nscwebsite.com. When you go to nscwebsite.com, hope you're able to hear me, and also to see the screen. You're able to see the screen.
Yeah.
Okay. When you go to nsc.com, you can see here directly. Suppose let us assume you want to get to the data of Nifty. Type here Nifty in the search column. You can get this NSE in derivative. So click on NSE in derivative. You will get bad gateway. Okay. So if you click on, if you type NSE, sorry, Nifty, you're going to get this data. It's loading. Since it's live, also net is a little bit slow here. Okay, meantime, any other questions? Okay, it's come. If you look at here, these are the data you can see here. Suppose you want to check historical data. This is what is the data for last trading day. Last trading day, if I'm right, it was Thursday because Friday there was a holiday. These are the data what you can see for last trading, that is Thursday's data. Suppose if you want to look for historical data, click on all historical data. You'll get this historical data of your Nifty. So you can check for 1 day, 1 week, 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, or 1 year. Beyond that, I think more than 6 months you are supposed to make payment. For example, you want to look out for Nifty. Select the instrument as futures already be selected. Here it is 2020. Then expiry date you can select, like as of now it is a month of March expiry date. May expiry date. For May expiry, what are the contracts? Prices are available, historical data you can see. This is what is the date, 30th of April, 29th of April, 28th of April. For all the contracts, it is available, futures. This is how you can check the data of your, this is how you can check your historical data. Hello? Hello?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
Okay. Yes, sir. Next one.
Hello?
Yeah.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Hello.
Go ahead, sir.
Yeah. I'm Dr. Subramaniam.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. My question is that now before the pandemic situation of this COVID,
Yes,
the
sir.
stock exchange was very good, and then it is boosting up like anything. But in this COVID situation, there is a lot of downfall. I heard from the news.
Okay.
Stock market trading and all. Now, after the COVID, what are the measures to be taken to overcome all this? Do you think it will be overcome?
So, like, if you ask me, like, especially this session is not to make
Hello?
profit or incur loss. I can suggest whatever is there. Hello?
Hello? Hello? Hello?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
You got my question, sir?
Yeah, your question is like, okay, what we need to do in this pandemic situation.
Yeah.
Sir, if you want to trade in options, okay, or if you want to trade in market, still one is like if you are not ready to take risk, you should not be in the market. That is my first thing. If you are ready to take risk, you should be in the market. Okay, now taking risk doesn't mean that okay you are here to just lose the money. Yes, there are some certain strategies available. You can build your own option strategies based on what is predicted. So ultimately, like you should know like what is expected. So if you're in dilemma, there are a lot of option strategies available. You can use those strategies, or if you're an investor with a portfolio, you can hedge your portfolio. You can adjust your beta of your portfolio. Suppose if your portfolio beta is somewhere 1.5, 1.6, it's high beta. If you want to reduce, you can reduce your portfolio beta by hedging your position. So based on your situation, based on your scenario, you can adopt. So that is possible. Yes, if you're an existing investor, better to hedge your positions.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Mr. Magesh Kumar has raised hand. I think you can unmute yourself and answer, sir. I am not muted.
Okay, sir. Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, sir. Tell me, sir.
Sir, I'm Dr. Magesh from Presidency University.
Yes, sir.
Okay, sir. So I just got a doubt how to get the gold price data for the last 3-4 months of data, and where do we get the gold price data?
You will get it in MCX, sir. Like
for the
spot
last
market, it is difficult to get. If you want to get data of futures, you can get it in MCX. Similar way, you can go to MCX. You can look for. Pardon, sir.
Yes, sir. No, historical data for the past
yes,
3 months.
You can get it. You can get it. Historical data, spot market, you'll not be able to get it through exchange. You can get gold futures data for last 6 months. It is possible in MCX.
So is it possible like I can able to get gold 10 grams?
Gold?
The 10 grams worth of the gold, no? There are different kinds of gold. In that we have a gold of 10 grams. Yes.
Yes,
so
there is a 10 gram, there is 1 gram, there is 100 gram, there is 1 kilo contract.
Yes, sir. So here,
yes, sir.
I do not. I just want to get only the gold price, not in the future contract or etc. Just a normal the trading that we do basically.
Okay, spot market. It is not available through exchange. Only future contracts you can get it through exchange. Because see, spot market, what I can do is you'll get to know the expiry price. Suppose gold, let's assume 15th of November, what was the expiry price, you can get it. Obviously, that is the spot market price, what exchange will consider. Like they take last 3 days average of that particular designated market. For gold, it is Gujarat. They've taken Ahmedabad as a spot market price. They consider Ahmedabad spot market price. They check like suppose expiry is on 15th, 13th, 14th, 15th, 3 days average they take. On that basis, they decide what is the expiry price. That you can get it through exchange, but not spot price. Hope it is clear, sir.
Yes, sir. I just looked at one of a research paper where they have used the 10 gram gold price, the historical price, for last 3 years data, but I do not know how
that will be future, sir.
Take the moment data because
the moment they say 10 gram gold future gold price, that will be a future price. That will not be spot price. Because 10 grams gold is a future contract.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Fine, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Thank
Welcome,
you.
Sir. Any other questions?
Sir, this is Nupur Chakravarti again.
Yes, ma'am.
Just wanted to ask, sir, would you be able to share your coordinates so that if just in case we have any queries, we can post your queries to you? Would that be possible?
Sure. Next slide it is there. I'll share that. No problem. Okay.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you.
Any other questions? Any other questions?
Good morning, sir. I'm Uma Bakshi.
Good morning, madam. Yes, madam.
So I would like to know how the volatility that you have given in different months it will be there. Will that be calculated and then given at one place in the exchange part?
No, volatility as of now readily it is not available. You will not get volatility readily.
Like
you have to calculate.
In the November it will be this much, Jan it is this, like that numbers are there, no? So how do we know that it is that much only and how it is fluctuating?
Okay, now see, there is something called implied volatility they calculate. So especially this is used in option trading. So when it comes to implied volatility, they're not going to check volatility. In fact, what they do is they're going to calculate implied volatility based on your option price. So if you remember, like if you're I think madam is an academician, I know because she's my colleague in PhD. Now, if you remember, we learn how to calculate option price using B&S model. So during that time, what happens, we'll be having option price to calculate your option price. We're going to use the data. That data, what we use is readily available. I mean, it may be your underlying asset or it can be your standard deviation what we calculate there. But when it comes to your implied volatility, instead of taking that standard deviation here, what we do is we're going to take your option price. For example, like option contract, call option, it is traded at 300 rupees. We take that option price, but we calculate volatility. That is what is implied volatility. So that will give you some indication where does it move. So if implied volatility is more, generally your option prices will be more. That means the premium will be more. Your intrinsic value will remain same. Your premium will increase. Second thing is like some of the website you might see that okay, officially it is not available. If you ask me, some of the website to facilitate the traders, they'll give you this volatility. That is nothing but the implied volatility, what you can see. Hope I answered your question, madam.
Okay.
Hello? Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome, madam. Any other questions?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Yes,
Sir,
sir.
this is
Thank
Magesh.
you, sir. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Hello, sir. This is
Yes,
Asha,
madam.
sir. Sir,
Yes,
can you
madam.
able to hear me?
Yes, madam. Tell me, madam.
Sir, this is
Asha
Asha,
madam is
sir.
there.
Yes, madam.
Go ahead, ma'am.
Sir, actually, I'm doing a research in this options, stock options, and this, sir, and I'm doing. Sir, can you able to hear me?
Yes,
correct,
madam. Yes,
sir?
madam. Go ahead, madam. I'm able to hear you.
Sir, I'm doing. See, actually, I'm using this Greeks only. I'm
Okay.
analyzing this Greeks. Okay, of
Okay.
the all the stock options and the index options. That is what
Okay.
my research topic is.
Okay.
Uh, Okay. Sir, can I get the like historical data, sir? How to collect the historical data, sir? I just searched in the NS.
Sorry, there is some network issue. Madam, you're talking about historical data. Yes, madam.
Yes, sir.
Historical data, you can get it. Till March, it was free. Now it is, you have to pay some fees. I think for researchers, they charge 18,000 rupees per annum. If you pay 18,000 rupees, you can get data from 2000 onwards or from the day one. It is possible. Hello. Asha, madam.
Okay, sir. Yeah.
Okay, now what you get data is not option Greeks. You'll not be able to get the ready option Greeks data. You can get data of your option price. You can get data
Yes,
of
sir. Thank you, sir. Actually, the voice is breaking.
Okay.
Okay.
You can get underlying asset price and also you can get option price. But option
So that is what I want actually, sir. Yes.
Stock prices are available. Yes, you can get it.
So
from
yeah, that I need to calculate.
You
yeah,
get
that.
it. You can get it.
Oh, yes, sir. Yeah, that I wanted to calculate. That is the Greeks I have to calculate. That I will do. Only the thing is, I want the historical data of past 20 years. That's it.
You will get it. The way I shown you now, as of now, it is free. There is an option in the NS website. If you make payment, they will give you user ID password. By using that user ID password, you can get for last 20 years. That is possible.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions?
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, yeah. Any other
no,
questions?
Sir. That's it. Thank you.
Sir, it's Magesh here. Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, sir. Go ahead, sir.
Sir, assuming that I am not an investor, if I wanted to get into the investment.
Okay.
But I just wanted to, for the purpose of learning and making some little benefit out of it.
Okay.
So you said that as currency options might be the best options to start with, basically.
Yes.
So the intention is just to know the process and to learn a bit and then to get a better idea, and then as you grow upon, as you get much more exposure, then you could add more investments into your portfolio.
Exactly.
So the whole intention is to not to maximize the money as of now, just for knowing the process and gradually learn, and to get an expertise out of those learning without losing much money, basically.
Right, sir.
So what in that case, what will be the best strategy that I should adopt, since I am a new investor or a new investor into any kind of a market?
Okay, now the strategies, there is nothing like defined strategy for the beginner or you are old in the market. Strategies will be based on market condition. That is first thing. Now, if you are a beginner, what I suggest is take some options, like there are something called in the money options, out of the money options, both in case of call option, put option. If possible, try to predict the underlying asset trend. For example, you want to buy US dollar, try to analyze by using your sources what is the expected price of a dollar. So right now it might be somewhere around 75.6 or so. Suppose you are expecting it to go to 77. So either you can go for buying a future contract. So since the contract value itself is 76,000 rupees, even if they ask you to pay 20% margin, it will be 14,000 rupees. And if it falls by 1 rupee, you're going to lose 1,000 rupees. So that is the risk what you have. And or you can go for buying an option. So you can go for buying a 76 rupees call option or a 76.25 call option. So what I suggest is, after buying this option, don't keep quiet at the beginning as a beginner. What I suggest is try to monitor the market on a regular basis and also cross-check your position, how much you are making a profit. At that particular point of time, if you want to exit, how much you can make profit. And also try to ascertain as and when your underlying asset moves, what happens to your option price, whether it is increasing or decreasing. That is how you can learn.
Okay, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Any other questions? If no questions.
Satyanarayana sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Professor Satyanarayana.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. I think there is a minor network issue everywhere. I think so.
Yes,
so
sir.
there is a kind of voice break. In case if there is any further questions, I think the delegates will reach your mail ID. What is visible?
Yes, sir. These are the contact details. They can contact me at these numbers.
Yes. Congratulations, Professor Satyanarayana.
This is your number, sir?
Contact number is there in the.
Yeah, it's available.
Okay, so any query I can contact you now, sir?
Yes, madam. Yes, madam.
Of course. There is a screen sharing. Please check it out. Mobile number as well as the mail ID is available.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Over to Professor Kulkarni for vote of thanks.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, and congratulations, Professor Satya. You have triggered a lot of minds on the latest developments in the Indian financial derivatives. I thank all the participants for having spared their time, and particularly if the corporate participants who happen to be on holiday today, supposed to be most of the.
Sir, 1 minute, if you don't mind. We have some corporate people. I request them to give your inputs on this. I hope Sanju is there. Sanju Kumar.
You call it by which company is that? PwC, or we have some people from PwC and EY.
No, let's not disclose the company name unless they want to disclose.
Okay. Because I saw on the list. Okay.
Yes, there are a lot of company people. Okay, it's okay. He's not responding. Okay, sorry, sir. Go ahead.
All right. So, particularly many of the corporates who wanted to have a holiday, because they generally are on a holiday on Saturday. So, you were able to make it to us for the webinar. Thank you so much. And all the faculty members and the heads of institutions. Yes, almost 80 to 90% of you are also occupied with the classes online, I suppose. And you have kept your such commitments little aside and participated in the webinar for the MDP. I, on behalf of our Dean, and the team of Center for Management Studies, Presidency College. We thank you for your participation. And yes, we all hope to get back to the classrooms as fast as possible. But under any unavoidable circumstances, if this continues, yes, we may meet again on this webinar on such platforms of Zoom or other platforms. Thank you very much. And I have posted on all your email IDs the feedback, and Google Forms are there. Kindly submit as early as possible. And e-certificates will reach you very, very shortly. Maybe today by end, or maybe by tomorrow. You should all be getting the e-certificate. Sir, any final word from our Dean, sir, Venkat sir?
Yeah, sir. Yeah, on behalf of the management,
yes, sir,
and our entire team, once again, I would like to thank all the delegates for sparing their valuable time, and good wishes to all of you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Please send please submit the feedback forms, madam, or dear all participants, please.
Yes,
thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank
Yes,
you
sir,
very
sure.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Purnima, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Dhananjay, sir. Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Hi. Hi. Shall we leave the meeting? Huh?
We have to leave the meeting.
Shall I? Okay, I'm also leaving the meeting. Okay.
And I think